If you're a woman over 40 who is tired of jumping headfirst into every diet that promises quick results, only to end up heavier and more frustrated than when you started, this video will change everything. Because today, I'll show you the 5 simple rules that help me go from nowhere near 25% body fat to finally reaching that goal in my mid-40s. And the best news is, you can finally achieve the same sweet spot where you feel confident, energetic, and strong without starving yourself or spending even more time on all of that intense cardio that's actually keeping you stuck. But if you're still convinced that you need to cut out every food you love and hit the gym for hours each day to lose fat, then this is exactly what you need to hear. Because what I'm about to share will completely flip everything you know about fat loss on its head. And the first rule is the rule that separates women who succeed from those who quit by week 3. There's a biological reason why women over 40 lose fat differently from all of those perfect 25-year-olds that you scroll past with their perfect transformations. And it has nothing to do with the metabolism that just magically drops after 40. Once you finally understand this, fat loss gets so much easier. But I'm willing to bet that you've played these games before. Week 1, you are extremely motivated. Week 2, you're already down a few pounds. But by week 3, your scale will not move. Your clothes still fit the same, and that voice in your head is screaming, why won't anything work? So you quit and try something even more extreme. You cut calories even lower, slap on another 30 minutes of cardio, and this time, you even resort to eliminating entire food groups. And I know that I can't be the only one who felt like she has spent decades in the same extreme cycle. But here's why that's really happening. After 40, your body can take up to 8 weeks or more to show any visible changes, both in the scale and in the mirror. But most of us has been fooled into believing that if nothing happens by week 2 or 3, that nothing will ever happen. But you're not that 20-year-old with hormones that instantly cooperate with every change you make. Your 40-something hormones need more time to adjust. If you're doing things right, your muscle needs time to respond. And your metabolism needs time to trust that you are finally done with starvation diets for good. Which makes the first rule of reaching 25% body fat over 40 patience, and a whole lot of it. Go into your moderate plan without making any drastic changes for a minimum of 12 weeks. Even mark it on your calendar. Write the word patience really big across every week for 3 full months. Because the women who succeed finally understand that slow and steady doesn't just win the race, but it is absolutely required if you want any kind of results that last. But having more patience without a plan is really just wishful thinking. So if you want to consistently lose fat over 40, there's a few things that you need to consistently track. But there's a huge tracking mistake most women make that sabotages your efforts even though you're just getting started. Most women track progress with a weekly weigh-in, while completely ignoring the data that actually guarantees success. There are 4 numbers you're probably not tracking that matter way more than a weekly weigh-in. 4 numbers that are really easy to track, but most women never even bother. Instead, you keep stepping on the scale every Monday, feeling absolutely defeated as you watch it go up. Or if it does go down, you finally feel victorious, so you celebrate with a treat, which is the exact reason a weekly weigh-in will never help you reach your goal. Your weight fluctuates 2 to 5 pounds every day based on water retention, hormones, sodium intake, digestion, and where you are in your cycle. So imagine what a liar your scale is after a full weekend of eating off track, or even just one meal out that can push it up 2 or 3 pounds. And here you are, throwing a tantrum that nothing works. Even though when you look at progress photos from a month ago, it's clearly working. Which is why you have to quit solely relying on the scale for your results. Instead, track these 4 numbers daily. How many calories you eat, how many steps you take, how much protein you hit, and yes, your daily weight. But here's the key. You need to use those 4 numbers to calculate your weekly weight average, not to obsess over daily fluctuations. And at the end of each week, look at your averages. Are you consistently hitting your calorie target? Are you getting your steps? And are you eating enough protein? Most importantly, is your weekly weight average going down by 1 to 2 pounds most weeks? Not every week, because weight loss isn't linear, but most weeks. If your weekly average is trending down and you're hitting those four numbers consistently, then you know what you're doing is working. If it's not, you have all of the data right in front of you to help you figure out what needs to be tweaked. So, rule number 2 is simple. Take 5 minutes each day to track the metrics that actually matter. Then spend 10 minutes each week analyzing your averages to see if you're on track. This is the exact system I used to lose 50 pounds over 40 while finally breaking free from yo-yo diets forever. And I'm not special. So if it can work for me and it works for hundreds of my clients, it will work for you. And while this rule gives you a solid overview of what actually works for fat loss, which is to burn more calories than you eat, all of the tracking in the world won't lead to permanent results if you're not following this next rule, which is a non-negotiable over 40. But here's the exercise myth that's keeping you exhausted, frustrated, and stuck, which is the same myth that had me spinning my wheels for decades, literally. Because you still think you need to spend an hour at the gym 5 to 6 days each week, doubling up on spin classes, or stepping until you can't breathe, because you think more is always better. So you burn out, dread every workout, and you might even find yourself sidelined with an injury. Eventually, you're forced to quit because always doing more just isn't sustainable. But here's the hard truth that took me too many years to figure out. All of that do more, go faster, make your fat stores cry cardio is what's keeping you fat. And switching from 6+ hours of strenuous cardio every week to just 2 full body strength training sessions, that's what will transform your bodies in ways that you never even thought possible. But why does strength training work better for women over 40? Because focusing on building more muscle helps you burn more calories all day, even if you're asleep. Plus, the swap takes you out of that constant fight or flight state where your stressed out body thinks that it's constantly under attack. So rule number 3 is prioritize strength training 2 to 3 days each week. Or if that's too much of a commitment, just focus on building muscle for 15 to 20 minutes most days. Follow a strength training routine that fits your life so you actually stay consistent. No, you won't lose 20 pounds this month following this rule, but the weight that you do lose adds up to permanent results, not another yo-yo cycle. But even though too much strenuous cardio is keeping you stuck, that doesn't mean that you get to sit on your couch all day. Because there's one type of movement that is even more powerful for fat loss over 40. But here's the fat loss secret that is hiding in plain sight, which costs very little and works for everyone. Yes, just moving more is great for overall health. But if you want movement for fat loss, there's a specific way to move that burns nearly double the calories. And it has nothing to do with how many steps you take. Since you heard that 10,000 steps is the golden rule, you pace around the house at night, take the stairs, and you park at the back of the lot. But you're still not losing fat because random steps throughout the day aren't enough. Sure, if you're completely sedentary, the extra steps will help. But if you're already hitting your step goals and still not losing fat, you need more sustained, moderate intensity movement with an incline to maximize calorie expenditure. Here's what works. 30 to 60 minutes of continuous incline walking at a controlled, moderate pace, where you can hold a conversation but still feel slightly out of breath. And if you can break your walk up into intervals where you work harder for 3 minutes, followed by 3 minutes at a moderate pace, even better. This burns nearly double the calories of flat ground walking without putting extra pressure on your joints. You're also not exhausting yourself or revving up hunger hormones since you're just doing moderate exercise, which means you're not just taking another leisurely stroll. Which, yes, that is great for mental health, but it might not be enough to speed up your body composition goals. You're also not power walking where you are huffing and puffing the entire time, since that's too intense and unsustainable for most people. Find the sweet spot on an incline where you think, I feel like I'm working, but I'm not ready to keel over at any moment. Which makes rule number 4, 30 to 60 minutes of purposeful incline walking 4 to 5 days each week, which is easier to stick with when you pair walking with something that you enjoy, like saving your favorite show for when you're on the treadmill. But all of the walking in the world won't work if you're ignoring the most important piece of the puzzle. And here's the nutrition truth that will help you finally break free from diet culture forever. There's a way to eat that automatically controls your appetite, stabilizes your energy, and promotes fat loss without cutting out entire food groups. But the diet industry doesn't want you to know about it because you can't sell a $200 program based on common sense. You've already tried keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, and meal replacement shakes. Each one promised to be the answer, and maybe you even initially lost weight, but then what? You got tired of all of the restrictions. You missed all of the foods that you love. You felt deprived and eventually rebelled by eating everything that you placed off limits. Which, if you're still watching, I know that you've been there at one point or another. Here's what I learned after years of yo-yo diets. You don't need to eliminate entire food groups or follow complicated rules. You just need to eat more whole foods, especially foods that are higher in protein and fiber. Even though I still check calories to make sure that I'm in a moderate calorie deficit, I never cut out anything that I love to lose fat. I'm just more strategic about eating what I want, like saving room for a treat at night and calorie cycling during the week. That way, I have room to enjoy a meal out without completely blowing my weekly calorie budget. Here's how this works in real life. Focus on getting at least 30 grams of protein with every meal, which is only 3 to 5 ounces of meat. Of course, you can also include more eggs, Greek yogurt, or even cottage cheese for even more protein. Then add more vegetables, fruits, and even whole grains to add fiber, which keeps you full and your digestion happy. When you eat this way, something magical happens. You naturally feel satisfied on less food. Your energy stays stable throughout the day, and your cravings decrease because your blood sugar isn't constantly spiking and crashing. And yes, you can still have pizza on Friday night or wine with dinner. Your goal should never be perfection. It should be making choices that support your goals at least 80% of the time while still enjoying life. Which makes rule number 5, eating mostly whole foods that are high in protein and fiber while remaining in a calorie deficit, but never eliminating everything you love. Just be strategic about when and how much you can have. This isn't about willpower or restriction. It's about creating a way of eating that you can actually stick to for life. Because what's the point of losing weight if you just gain every pound back the minute you go back to eating normal? The women who succeed long-term understand that sustainable fat loss isn't about researching diet after diet. It's about creating a lifestyle that includes the foods you love while still moving towards your goals. You deserve to feel energetic, confident, and finally achieve your fat loss goals. Now that you know that it's possible, you just need the right support to make it happen.